we're going to break down the futures game real quick here, because the futures game was a blast. I would say it was a little bit more underwhelming in terms of like highlight reel stuff compared to other futures games, but I honestly didn't really notice that until we were leaving, and a couple of our buddies were like, "Oh, that was a flat futures game." I was like, "Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, like
the pitching was fun. We didn't see a nuke, which understandable because we're going to talk about the pitching that came in. We dug up some of the biggest metrics or most notable metrics from this futures game from a velocity standpoint, batted ball standpoint, all that good stuff. I felt like the arms for the most part just seemed like a little bit more ready to go than the hitters. I don't really know how to describe it. It's always going to be advantage pitcher when you can. It was a lot of starters, obviously, starters with great stuff that typically struggled with command a little bit, which is a perfect scenario to success if you can just go in the first in one inning spurts and just throw it as hard as you can. So we saw a lot of those guys see their stuff tick up, and hitters, it's just a tough ask for these guys, especially because they only get one or two at bats and it's on to the next one. So right as you start to get comfortable, boom, you're out. So it was one of those situations where it's hard to hit, really, really hard to hit. We see it in the All-Star game all the time. And even some of baseball's best position player prospects looked terrible on some swings, which was fun from a pitching perspective. I came away really impressed with a lot of the arms, which we were a little like concerned. How good is the pitching going to be? The National League side was a lot better than the American League side. And I just thought all the arms were really fun to watch.
I agree. And I probably should have pushed back in the car a little bit more as to like the claim that it was a flat futures game. It's like, speak for yourself, man. As a pitching dork, I had a fucking great time. It was awesome. And like, I can really appreciate the arms that stole the show, because those are the guys that we ID'd. We ID'd Tink, Hence, and Misiorowski. And I think Hence and Misiorowski were the two that jumped out. But, other guys that we were excited to watch excelled. And, like I got up and got food during Jonathan Campbell. So that kind of
who hit 97, which is the funniest part.
97, exactly. Like we were talking about it. Semro Burst is the guy that you probably like, channel surf for a little bit. He was 95. So I can really appreciate the pitching talent that was on display in this game. I thought that there were some hitters that were just fun to watch, like kind of exist and get an in-person look. Like Chorio, that facial hair is real, man. Like that's an old looking 19. Like Junior Caminero looks 30. It's crazy.
He's a big dude. Also the IO, the infield outfit. I totally forgot that they're going to do like an infield outfield situation. I mean, I haven't seen a full infield outfield since like high school.
Pinecrest High School.
Yeah, like literally since high school. And it was like refreshing to see, just because these guys are kids at the end of the day. Like they're all so young, and you're seeing them have fun with the IO, like hitting the ball to the outfield. They're coming up throwing. You got to see some arms. There was some really impressive throws. You get to see the guys in the infield kind of toss it around a little bit. That part was cool. BP was really cool. Brady House put on a damn show. I mean, upper tank, I think 6 times. And then came into the game and laced a single. House continues to look fantastic. The before game stuff was really fun. It was really fun to see these guys try to battle, because for me it was like I'm not trying to come away with any major impressions on like, oh, did you hit a bomb off of a 1-inning spurt of Carson Wisenhunt being able to go up to 96 with the freak change? Like, you got to battle. And it was just fun to see some of the guys how they can battle. And that was one of the number one things, because, we didn't talk much about Crawford, right? And we didn't know how much we're going to pay attention to Justin Crawford there. He's probably one of the youngest guys there, one of the least experienced guys there. He has a tough draw of having to go left on left against Joey Cantillo, who, by the way, we had a great conversation with Endy Rodriguez and Joey Cantillo in the hotel before the game. That'll be out this week on the call up as well and on our YouTube. But left on left with Cantillo in a 1-inning spurt, who was throwing, he talked about it in the interview, his like Vulcan change, a nasty breaking ball and up to 98, left on left. And he battled. That was one of the more impressive things for me to see, instead of just like you caught one out front and put up a 111. Like, that's great too. But a 19-year-old with barely any professional at bats under his belt battling against a really good AAA arm left on left.
Yep.
Like those are the things I'm kind of there to see, like the between the margins, nuanced things that were fun. And I think that's what comes with the territory of this game. And that's why it's really fun. That's why they should play 9 innings. And that's why it shouldn't be on Peacock.
Yeah, no, I was about to bring up Justin Crawford because we saw a couple of guys, and Crawford, I think, was the one that stood out that performed beyond his level, where he's a low A guy seeing double A pitching, and he held his own. So, that's not saying, hey, put Justin Crawford in double A. That's saying this guy is more advanced than we were expecting him to be. And, it's not like that's going to shoot him from the mid 90, in the top 100 to, the low 30s. Like he doesn't jump 60 spots because he looked good against a double A pitcher in one of his at-bats.
No,
but it does make you feel really good about Justin Crawford's long-term possibilities.
Yeah. And it catches your attention a little bit. You start to watch a little bit closer and see what's going on. And again, it says a lot about a guy's ability and just overall approach and how advanced he is to be able to survive in that kind of situation. And again, this is a guy with bloodlines, son of Carl Crawford. And you can kind of just see the way he was, okay, this is a tough at bat left on left. How can I take away one part of the zone? How can I try to battle here? And he did that. The number one thing that stood out to me with Justin Crawford before we get into some of the big data points.
Yeah.
I think he has a 70% ground ball rate in low A right now.
Yeah.
Both the balls he hit were in the air. One was hard hit at 105, right? And then another one was kind of a fought off line drive against Cantillo, and Jonathan Clase made a great catch in center. Here's one thing that you can come away with in one game, by the way, though, being in person. One thing that, like we always say, you got to have a lot of a sample size to come away with big time, conclusions on anything. I think jumps in the outfield you can get pretty quickly with just a few of them. Class A's jumps were phenomenal. And that's a Mariners prospect, of course. And so he had the fanfare there and all that good stuff. He has some things to work through at the plate. He's a very young player, 21 years old in Double A. But man, the jumps in the outfield, including that catch on Crawford. But there was another one over the shoulder that going back to his right into the gap. I think it was a PCA liner at 106, which was also a really impressive swing on a cutter. But that was just one of those jumps where I was like, man, to get that jump off of a lefty going kind of inside out, slicing away from you, and he just goes, it was right off the bat. Like Class A impressed me defensively in center. Like that's the cool things that you can kind of pick up at these games too.
Yeah, 100%. And I saw a note on MLB.com. Yanquiel Fernandez. Yanquiel Fernandez, I was very excited when he stepped into the on-deck
Rockies
because
guy.
that's becoming are the Rockies my bit? Is Yanquiel my bit? I can't decide because I genuinely think Yanquiel is good. I don't think the Rockies are good.
Their system's like weirdly good.
I know. And so I guess the Rockies are the bit, but I genuinely am bought into Yanquiel Fernandez. So when I saw Yanquiel in the on-deck circle, I was like, okay, let's go. And then he was in right field and he came up firing, runner didn't go first, third, but he came up like ready to showcase the arm. Like, hey, I'm going to nab this guy at third if he went. It was one of those like, let me show you throws. And after the let me show you throw, I think I turned to you. I was like, a hose. And then I saw on MLB.com, it was 103.3. 103 on a throw from right field.
I mean, that's elite. That's the hardest throw, I think, by Rockies outfielder in the StatCast era.
Really? Yeah. I mean, I think last year there were a couple of 100-mile-per-hour throws, 100 plus. It was like, Acuna's done it this year. I know Christopher Morel did it last year. Miles Straw.
I think Aaron Hicks broke baseball with a 106.
Yeah, but 103 is from a 21-year-old in double.
He's tooled up.
He's tooled up, man. So that's what I love. Outfielder jump, it after one or two.
Yeah.
Throw, I knew it after one. Like I love that. The other thing that jumped out, I guess in a bad way, like if I have to get negative here, it was really cool seeing Marcelo Meyer and Jackson Holliday share shortstop during IO for the American League. Holliday didn't look good
it was
defensively.
It was a small sample there, but he was looking a little rushed at short.
He looked very rushed.
But a big stage. There's another guy. He's 19.
Yeah, I mean,
he's 19. But there was a couple balls that he just put himself in a bad spot, ate him up.
And the thing is, I wasn't going to take anything away offensively from Jackson Holliday because again, he's a 19-year-old playing in the futures game, but defensively,
he didn't look the most comfortable, which was interesting because he's looked good this year, and a lot of people came away thinking, "Okay, this kid's really good shortstop," and I think he's gonna be fine overall. But he definitely looked a little rushed out there.
It was a weird one.
I mean, the ball was probably coming off a little different. You know, it's coming off a little different. Guys are throwing harder. Guys are hitting harder than most of the guys he's seeing in high A, and it just looked like it was getting on him a little bit quicker. But that was probably a cool learning experience for him, because he mentioned that when, I think it was in a conversation with Baseball America, that he goes home and watches Ellie De La Cruz highlights, which is so cool. And just, it just kind of shows you the layers to this game.
Yeah.
A couple big metrics here.
Yeah.
We mentioned on the podcast, I think the specific prediction was Jacob Misiorowski was going to go viral with multiple disgusting pitches on Pitching Ninja. And that is exactly what happened. The Brewers prospect hit 102.3, I think.
Yep.
Hit 101 5 times, hit 100 10 times. And what makes him so elite, and I think one of the better pitching prospects in baseball, you'll see in our update as well, and we've been talking about him for a while, is he's 6'7".
Yeah.
He gets crazy extension, but to get the extension that he gets while releasing from a low vertical attack angle, it just almost breaks a hitter's brain. You're seeing the ball come from a place that you never really see it.
Yeah. And
then off of that, you have 92-mile-an-hour cutter, and then you have a slurvy sweeper in the mid 80s. This guy, if he can command his stuff, which he did in this outing,
yeah,
if he can command his stuff, and he has continued to get better with that, even in high A. I mean, this is frontline upside, and that's why he's a top 100 guy. Like, for me, every pitcher has inherent risk. It's the reason why I'm not taking the pitcher number 1 overall.
Yeah,
every pitcher has more risk than a hitter.
Yes.
Give me the guy that has the highest ceiling imaginable, and you're hard pressed to find a minor league pitcher with a higher upside than Jacob Misiorowski.
Yeah, no, I don't think there is one. And, you know, like, I'm not going to stand up and do the tutorial because I've already had like a video meme made out of that. But like, think about, okay, Misiorowski has a very unique attack angle, right? So we're talking about where he is when the ball is coming out of his hand. Think about everything that goes into how he gets to that point. Like, that can fuck up a hitter too.
Yeah, there's a lot of limbs going everywhere.
Yeah, so you know, obviously we always look at the metrics, and the metrics are so freaking important, but also just like the delivery as a whole, you wonder why Chris Sale was so freaking good for that long. Yes, he had a funky attack angle. Yes, he was 98 with a crazy slurve, but like, shit was coming from right field, man.
Yeah.
And like, he was somehow like bent at the elbow, and then like it came out of nowhere. It was like he's back spinning the ball at you, and then all of a sudden it jumps on you at 98. Misiorowski, he has so many limbs going absolutely everywhere. That's a distracting thing for a hitter. He's got a distracting, unorthodox delivery, comes at you at an unorthodox attack angle, and then pumps 102 by you.
Yeah.
Those guys, like, I can't teach weird, man.
No.
You can't teach weird.
If you combine weird and nasty,
like,
you got something special.
Chris Sale.
Yeah, you know, he is like a righty Sale, and people throw it around too much. This is the first guy that I've really seen where it's like, that's a righty Sale, that's a Chris Sale-esque guy, and the stuff is better at this stage. A couple minor leaguers that I was able to talk to after facing Misiorowski, I just wanted to know. They said, worst at bat I've ever had. Worst at bat I've ever had. Like, you just got to pray, basically.
Yeah, I think
you got to pray he hangs a cutter, or, you know, you can time up a fastball. You're not hitting that sweeper at 85. It's like a swervy sweeper. And you know a guy has a fucked up arsenal. When I've been on multiple systems that all tag his pitches differently. Yeah. You'll see some of his cutters tagged as sliders. They're not sliders at 92. Yeah. They are cutters. You'll see the sweeper tagged as like a curveball or a slurve. Or sometimes it gets vertical. Yeah. You'll see all these different tags. And it's just because like the system's like basically saying, we don't see this. Yeah. We don't have a bucket for this. Right. And that pretty much, I had one of the longest conversations I've had in a long time with one of my buddies who's a catcher and an analytics dork about what the hell is his arsenal. And we finally put it into like each of those buckets, but it was a whole conversation. Like, it's not this because of this. It's not a slider because of how much vertical movement it has. You know, if a pitch has more than 4 inches of vertical, it's going to be more cutterish than slider. Like, we had to have a full conversation about what to label his pitches because they're all so outlier-esque. Yeah. It was just so fun to see him on the big stage. I think you're going to see a lot more hype around this guy.
He's one of those that, like, I just needed to prove that he was real.
Yeah,
to
he's
myself,
real.
because you see the grainy footage
Yeah,
of like
yeah.
low A and
The
high
moon
A.
landing footage.
Yeah,
It's
like the fighting Wisconsin timber rattler, Jacob Misiorowski. I'm like, is this guy a real person?
maybe
like,
the gun's hot. He might not be real. It might be the camera angle.
like,
Whatever.
I'm not going to Appleton, Wisconsin. Like, that dude's fully real.
He's real.
He's got this, and I mean, we'll see how high you want to push him in the top 100, but like, I'm not going to stop you until we get to like the 10 range, and then I'll be like, okay, let's.
A lot of Twitter doctors out there also that have already relegated Misiorowski to a lifelong career of arm troubles.
Well, we read that about Gavin Weir,
yes,
12-year-old too.
You know the social media and the baseball doctors. That's the number one. And I'm dealing with that with the Yuri Perez stuff right now. It makes me want to rip my hair out with all the baseball doctors out there.
No, nothing but really good dialogue.
Yeah, really, 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 really good dialogue.
I think everybody understands what the Marlins are doing.
Yes,
yeah.
Very, very credible people too, just willing to fire from the hip. But when you have people out there willing to quote tweet a highlight of a 12-year-old and Gavin Ware in the Little League World Series and say,
DJ by 17.
Yeah, this guy's arm's cooked. Like you're just we've gone too far.
Dude,
wherever we're at.
Honestly, touch grass.
Yeah, just touch some grass. And honestly, the Yuri stuff in a different way, touch grass and leave me alone, please. All right. Moving on to the next guy real quick, Luis Guerrero, a guy that I had literally zero knowledge of prior to this game, Red Sox prospect. He's a reliever with command issues, but he hit 100. You hit 100, I'm going to mention you. That's pretty much where we're at. High A guy, command's kind of So if he can command the stuff, he has legit 3 pitches, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Carson Whisenhunt,
yes,
Giants prospect. We've talked about him on the pod a little bit and about how this guy is, really proven to be the whole situation that he had caused him to fall out of the first round. And I think a lot of teams are probably kicking themselves now for not taking him in the first round. I understand why they didn't, and you got to be careful. But if you're watching Whisenhunt pitch right now, and every team is starved for a good left-handed pitching prospect, who, by the way, is one low effort. And that was the thing that stood out to me too. A lot of teams got to be saying, man, we should have taken a flyer on Whisenhunt. Ultimately, Giants did, and the results look good. He's 94, 96. His changeup is unbelievable.
Unreal.
I just talked to Kobe Mayo on the podcast, and we did the live hitting breakdown on our YouTube. Go check that out. And we specifically broke down a Whisenhunt at bat.
You probably saw him in Richmond, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because he was in Bowie.
Yeah. So we broke down a Whisenhunt at bat, and it was a battle. And it was just really cool hearing Mayo talk about the changeup, how good it was, and how well Whisenhunt executed the pitches in that at bat. It was the only one that wasn't a 108 home run that I picked.
Yeah.
It was a 80-mile-an-hour kind of fister that he fought off. And Mayo was like, yeah, dude, honestly, I was really proud of that swing because that was a phenomenal pitch. Like, he sequenced really well in that at bat. And we talked more about that, but that's kind of what we saw here in a shorter spurt. Yeah. He's more 92, 94 as a starter. Mm-hmm. Everybody is going to be up a tick or two in these short spurts. But what really impressed me is everything was up, but the command was still great. The changeup feel was still great. And he bullied some dudes.
He's a big, strong fella. I think I didn't, really understand that about Whisenhunt. I was talking to our analytics guy, or one of our analytics guys, Colby Olson, during the game. And when Whisenhunt came into the game, I said, I'm really excited to watch this guy. And Colby was like, is he the one that got suspended? Mm-hmm. Or the PED thing? Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is loaded. I said, dude, Celsius is a banned substance in the NCAA. Like, super caffeine monk fruit shit is banned in the NCAA.
It should be. I'm convinced it's made me fatter.
Celsius?
Yeah, it's like there's like the fake sugar in it. It's in my pouch.
Whatever, man.
We swore off a downtick in the Carson Whisenhunt PED conversation, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're getting that, and it's always going to be something that is brought up until I bet he's 2 or 3 years into his major league career.
Shoving.
He's shoving.
I almost wish we could Men in Black people from and wipe their memory from before, because just watch this guy throw. This is a first round talent that is proving to be a first round talent.
And again, I'll say it one more time and then I'll put it to bed. From what I've read, from what I've gathered, the substance that he took was something that you can get at GNC, General Nutrition Center. dude, come on.
Yeah.
This is not a PED suspension.
Yeah,
He's not shooting horse tranquilizer.
It's another one that I just see too many people talking. Like,
yeah,
just
because
watch.
everybody's either a doctor or the morality police.
Yeah.
But no, man, I mean, Wisenhunt, it was really fun to watch that change up in real time because, you know, we got to sit there and just like kind of enjoy it. You know, we snuck out against.
Oh no, yeah, we didn't pay for our seats. No.
No, it was great, but you know, it was nice to just take that game in almost as like an elevated fan, where you're watching with that working eye, but also, you know, it's when Wisenhunt busted out this changeup. I mean, there were several times that I went with like the high pitch, like whoo,
Yeah,
like crazy the separation, because you mentioned 94 to 96. Changeup was 82 to 83.
Yeah.
Like that's a massive separation. And he had younger, less polished hitters looking like idiots.
Oh, Jonathan Class A, it's a double A guy, younger, but
Yeah.
double A guy. He had some bad swings there.
Yep.
I think he got Holiday as well.
Holiday.
And that's the thing with this changeup is we got to see it kind of from behind home plate. It's so nasty with the vertical drop.
Mhm.
It's like, you know, a lot of the guys that have the fade, it's hard to have that left on left success because it fades back into the sweet spot of a left-handed swing. For Wisenhunt, it has so much drop that it works left on left.
Yeah.
So that's why I think this guy's going to really be good. And we saw the breaking ball. He's still trying to find that spin, but he snapped a couple good ones. But it takes some of the pressure off of the breaking ball and the splits when you have such a good changeup that you can go left on left with it. And I think that's what we saw. I mean, Jackson Holiday is so good at being able to spoil pitches, kind of just get his hands to wherever a ball is. And he wasn't able to do that with some really good changeups. So that was really impressive for me. And then kind of staying on the trend of changeups, Joey Cantillo. Again, you guys are going to love the conversation we had with him. He is
So smart.
Surprise, Guardians prospect pitcher who is just got it between the ears, really high makeup guy, and just such a fun conversation. We're going to eventually have him on the pod, you know, for a longer form conversation, because that's a guy I just want to pick his brain. But this was another dude that really took care of business with the fastball that, you know, he's been mid 90s this year. He's touched 97, but in this short spurt was up to 98. And his changeup is just diabolical. 15-mile-per-hour separation there.
Well, he was snapping off some benders too that were really impressive.
And he talked about that. That was something he wants to continue to, and he has chew.
Yeah.
So that's something that he wants to keep developing.
You know, I don't want to rave about a conversation before you guys have heard it, because like I want you guys to have your own takeaways of Joey Cantillo. But when I tell you, like, we talked to him on Saturday morning, I went into his outing on Saturday afternoon, like fully rooting for the guy.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, you have it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know your stuff is crazy because I've been watching you for now, like, what, 3 years.
And you're really nice.
And you're really nice. And you're a really nice guy. Like, it's willing to, you know, like, I want to root for you. Cantillo's fastball at times looked borderline electric in that inning sample. I think it was an inning and 2/3.
Yeah,
and a third.
We didn't get the shape, but I can promise you that
it's great.
It was jumping.
Yes.
It was jumping.
It's jumping, and it was 97. Like, he was consistently 95 to 97. That curveball looked good, but dude, that changeup, like there were a couple at bats in his full clean inning where it was 96, and it was the Vulcan changeup, and that shit was nasty.
And then if he develops those breaking balls, I mean, this is a legitimate fastball's a plus pitch now with that shape.
Yeah.
Changeup's a plus pitch. If either of those breaking balls are 50 to 55s, I mean, that's a complete arsenal that can make you a number 2.
Okay. So yes, I agree. Put together the rotation of the future. I think they move Bieber. So under the assumption that they move Shane Bieber at this deadline.
And they need a lefty in that rotation. So yes, it's just perfect.
Moving forward, I think if we're looking at, because Cantillo just got to triple. He was in double for
and he talked about the command is kind of the one thing I think that he needs to.
But we've seen him dialed
in.
No,
I agree. It's just consistency.
It's consistency with the command. So Gavin Williams, Bybee, McKenzie, Logan Allen, Cantillo.
Yeah.
Who are we leaving?
Are we missing anyone?
I mean, we're missing Curry. We're missing.
He's been great in the bullpen. I think
he's been awesome in the bullpen. We're missing Hunter Gaddis, and Gaddis's appeal is gone. Mace Nikhazy, no. Messick, no.
No, I think that's it.
That's it.
That's it. And then they got another wave of guys coming too. So.
Okay, so I was talking to Andy Rodriguez just in the airport before we flew from Indy to Seattle on Friday, and I was like, "Who's the toughest AB you've had?" and he was thinking about it. He's like, it's tough. He ID'd Tanner Burns,
Yeah.
the double-A guy
That's
for
so
the
annoying.
Guardians. And I was just like, okay, there we go. Like, here's just another one
There's
added to the
another
fold.
one.
But no, man, I think Cantillo, he was part of that Mike Clevenger move from San Diego to Cleveland. I think that this guy shouldn't be trade bait. I think that this guy should be a piece of what the Guardians are doing in the long term.
And it seems like he's going to be, which is really awesome. Couple more arms, and then we'll wrap up with a few quick batted ball stuff. And Nasim Nunez, everybody's pick for MVP.
Yeah.
Tink Hence up to 99. You have in the notes, curveball looked crazy. It did, but also the changeup looked good. There's a guy with 3, like it's 2+ pitches, and the changeup could turn into a plus pitch. Fastball being up to 99, unsurprising. We've seen him be like that.
Yeah.
He's also probably the most comfortable guy out of all these throwing in short spurts, because that's what he does. Yeah. He averages like 4 innings to start, maybe less. I mean, it's like 3 2/3. But man, this kid is so good. The fastball is another one that, there's 98s, 99s. I thought Cantillo's got on hitters faster than some of the 98, 99s. I thought Hence's was probably one of the most impressive 99s. We're going to talk about Tink Hence, Mick Abel. Tink Hence's 99 was a lot more impressive than Mick Abel's 99, at least in person in this specific setting. Yeah, that's how I came away with it.
Well, Tink is cut from the Misiorowski cloth for me, where like I just needed to see if this guy was actually real. And Tink Hence is very real. And he's a smaller guy, very thin guy that gets the most out of his body, and the fastball absolutely jumps on.
The delivery is interesting. You could probably appreciate it from our angle. The way that he almost like dips back.
He rocks.
And he rocks, and the arm, like the way it's almost like he's throwing uphill.
So,
and when you have that uphill, like that shot put throwing mechanic, that's Brian Wu I was talking about. That it's similar to that. I'd love to see his VAA. I haven't dug it up. I don't think it's as elite of a VAA, but he still has that, like, you can't see the arm, you see the shoulder pointed upwards, and then all of a sudden it's coming back at you, and it just does look like it's shooting upwards. And that really makes it hard for a hitter, especially when you can tunnel the breaking ball off of that. And the changeup, he repeats the release point really well. That was the one other cool thing from where we were sitting. You could see kind of the release point, and repeating it from the same spot. Good fade. I mean, Tink Hence could be. This is another guy with ace upside.
Yes, I agree. Can I give you a deep cut comp for what kind of momentum he can generate with that delivery? And like, Tink Hence's floor might be this guy, but if you watched Vesia at all in the last couple of years, Alex Vesia is a rock, get the momentum back, and then you're rocking forward and you finish it with the push.
Yeah.
Like that's what Tink Hence does. It is a
gets the most out of his body.
He gets the most out of his body, and just mentioned it. Like, he's 6 foot, he's probably 2 bills soaking wet. I don't know the exact like height, weight measurements, but he's not a big guy on the hill at all. So how do you do that? You have athleticism to supplement how you maximize your body. And he's got a rock and a late push, and it's all a momentum-based delivery. And 99 will jump on you if you are any momentum-based delivery.
And pretty low effort for a 6 foot guy up to 99.
It's really low effort.
Yeah.
You have to time it. Like, I could see timing getting out of whack, but I mean, it seems simple enough for him because he does seem like a really good athlete.
100%. And then Mick Abel, he got the start, right?
Yeah. So that was Mick Abel versus Owen White.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. Like, also Owen White just looked like the one. He looked like the one guy that's debuted already. Like, he was just like got in there, executed his pitches, got out.
You're good.
Mick Abel of the Tink Hence is a Cardinals guy, of course, and then Mick Abel of the Phillies. The stuff was undeniable, but I think he threw more balls than strikes. Yeah. And it was weird because he was the one guy that kind of got to go through his regular routine. You're a starter, you get to kind of like go right in there. I thought he'd show a little bit better. It was 1 inning. Again, we still got to see the fastball up to 99. I didn't think it was as lively as the Tink Hence 99, but Abel's a special arm. You could see flashes of that. It just in this instance was not his best outing.
I wonder if there's nerves there.
I'm sure.
Starting the futures game.
Starting the futures games is just definitely interesting.
Yes, easier because you get to go through your routine as a starting pitcher that's starting a game. Might be harder because you're the one opening the futures game.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Like, the game kind of settles in afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I'm sure it becomes a little bit lower stress when everybody's locked into the first pitch of the futures game. Well, everybody that has the Peacock subscription is locked into the futures game. Yeah, man. Like, I was I don't want to say unimpressed with Mick Abel, but
It was a high bar that we already had set for him.
yeah, it was a high bar and he didn't meet it.
Yeah.
So I think I was slightly underwhelmed by Abel, thinking that he was going to carve in 10 pitches and get out of the inning, but that's just not the case.
Yeah, but again, the stuff you could see flashes of it. It was just a little erratic. I wish I could have saw a little bit more of the breaking ball, just because a lot of them were non-competitive. But again, he still was able to kind of clock back in, battle, and I think that shows you just what he's still able to do. He could be completely off and still get outs because his stuff is so good.
Yeah.
Wrapping up with the position players. PCA, I thought, had one of the most impressive swings with that cutter in on his hands, shoots it the other way, 106, run down by Clase. Lawrence Butler, in terms of the just like got it factor, he had one of the, I think, coolest like demeanors, and also just his fit was the coolest of any player. Got the Pit Vipers on deck.
Yeah.
The A's prospect hit 111 and 108. They were ground balls, but they weren't like chopper straight into the ground. They were legit 111s and 108. His hands work so well. He is such a twitchy athlete, and we saw that. Jackson Merrill, I said, would go 0 for 2 and somehow be impressive. That's exactly what he did.
Yep.
He just looks the part. And then we talked about Crawford. Nas was the MVP. It was very cool to see him have that opportunity because, he just probably had the worst stat line of any player there. We've had him on the show. He's an awesome dude.
Yeah.
He's an electrifying player, though. And I think that's an example. Again, we're not going to like make sweeping conclusions of any of these players from this game, but I think this was an example of how Nas Nunez does not need to be a 750, 800 OPS guy to make an impact in a game. And I think that's why the Marlins are still very high on him. He's going to need to hit better than a 600s OPS, but this guy could be 720 OPS and impact the game in so many different ways because he's one of the best defenders in the league, in the minor leagues, and he's an electrifying base stealer, and he just makes pitchers work from both sides of the plate. It was cool to see someone like Nas come away with the MVP when you have so many future All-Stars in this game.
Yeah, I think I picked Victor Scott to win the MVP.
Also, he was sick he's still second and third with ease.
Yeah.
He came into the game with like 52 bags.
He's amazing. Victor Scott, a Cardinals prospect. Nasim Nunez with the Marlins, like, we didn't see his best trait, and he still won the Futures Game MVP. Like, we didn't see him make any plays defensively, and he still won the Futures Game MVP. So shout out to Nas Nunez. It was a well-placed ground ball down the third base line. It happened to be a 3-run double. There we go. And it's always one hit that nets the guy an MVP. Real quick, revisiting Lawrence Butler. I've said it on this pod, and it still reigns true. Every time I watch this guy play baseball, I get more and more bought in. Yeah, because he's getting better and better.
He has. That's the number one thing, though. Like the way he's been able to cut his K rate at a higher level, up the exit velocities, just continue to look more comfortable. Yeah. I agree. I mean, from when I saw him in the Arizona Fall League recently, like just this past year to now, you see a player that just gets more and more and more comfortable. This is a really talented dude.
Last one, his org mate Tyler Soderstrom played first base. That's a big ass dude.
He's gonna hit a lot of balls really hard for a long time.
Big man,
and he's only 21.
Yep.
Yeah. So he's gonna get stronger. He's gonna get more physical, and that's gonna be one of the better power bats, I think, in the big leagues at some point. So it was fun. It was really fun. And we are going to recap the draft this week. We have those interviews coming out. Definitely a loaded content schedule here. We're going to try to do a live stream from the draft, or not from the draft, but from Gantry Public House, where we're going to be doing a trade night with eBay. I already had some people reaching out that they're going to bring me some Curtis Mead cards to buy. So I'm looking forward to that. I have my cards there that I'm going to be maybe wheeling and dealing a little bit. But we're also just going to be hanging out, watching the draft and just having some fun, food, drinks, all that good stuff. So if you're in the Seattle area, come hang out with us. Should be a lot of fun from 12 to 7. We're there all day, baby. So any final thoughts as we wrap up and get ready for draft day?
Get the hell out of my room.
Sounds good to me. I'll go back to my room very soon. As always, thank you for listening. We'll talk prospects with you very soon.